and we'll get going. So again, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Karifin. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar series organized by Microsoft MVP Mentor Program. My name is Senthil Kumar, and I am the speaker for today's session. Today, we will be looking at the Location and Maps API in Windows Phone 8. In this webinar, we'll look at the new features in the Windows Phone 8 SDK, especially for the developers who wanted to integrate the locations and mapping functionality in their app. This is an introductory session, and we will look into some new features available in Windows Phone 8 SDK for developers to build the maps and location, to build apps using Maps and Location API. This session is targeted at developers who are interested in getting started with the location and maps. And without wasting much time, let me get on to the next slide. Something about me. I am Senthil Kumar. I work for a company called Trivium eSolutions, which is a Bangalore-based software house. I'm also a Microsoft MVP in client development. I'm also a B.NETer. B.NET stands for Bangalore.NET User Group, which is one of the premier and active .NET user groups targeting Microsoft technologies in Bangalore. I am one of the active members of the Bangalore.NET User Group. I am also a Windows Phone enthusiast and share some of my Windows Phone and mobile development findings in my called mobileosgeek.com. I can be iSenthil. The agenda for today's session, to start with, we'll get introduced with different location providers in Windows Phone and then explore the advantages and disadvantages of each and every location providers. We'll then look into various launchers for using maps in your Windows Phone app. We'll then get introduced to the Geolocator class, which is used to get the current location from your Windows Phone 8. We'll then explore what exactly are capabilities in Windows Phone 8 and what are the capabilities necessary for maps and location in Windows Phone 8 app. And we'll also see how to use the map control in our Windows Phone application, and later explore the Windows Phone Toolkit extension, which supports a map extension as well, how to apply map overlay. And finally, we'll also look to the location tracking, which is nothing but the background location tracking, which was available in Windows Phone 8. And finally, we'll also take the Q&A section as well. So generally, there are three different techniques in which Windows Phone can identify the location, geographical location. The Windows Phone 8 SDK in general provides very simple APIs that lets the developer to easily work with them. The API in Windows Phone abstracts the location providers or location sensing technologies so that the developers need not worry about the working of the providers itself, but instead just focus on their logic of how they want to retrieve the location and perform some operation within their app. Right? So the first technique is using AGPS. AGPS is the assisted satellite-based positioning system, and it's an extension of GPS. This generally provides the most accurate result of a location. When you're using AGPS, it significantly consumes more power, and hence developers should use this with utter carefulness, and the developers need to use this only when they need high accuracy level of the location. The AGPS generally does not work indoors. The other technique is using the cell tower. The cell tower technique uses the triangulation with multiple cell towers. The phone current location is found based on the distance between the distance and the towers that are involved between the phone and the signal. When we compare with the AGPS, the cell tower consumes less power and is also less accurate. The accuracy depends on the number of towers that are involved in calculating the location. This technique works well in indoors, but if you're outside a city or where the signal strength is very low, it becomes little difficult to get the accurate results. The last technique is the Wi-Fi. This uses less power when we compare with the GPS and can provide better accuracy than cell tower triangulation in few scenarios. It relies mainly on the global location database of Wi-Fi networks and the capability to identify Wi-Fi networks within its reach. So these are generally the three different location providers that we use within our application to get the location. Okay, next we have the Maps launchers in Windows Phone 8. What exactly are the launchers? Launchers are simply an API that helps the developers to launch the built-in apps from their Windows Phone app. For example, you want to launch an email composer app. So use the launcher in Windows Phone 8, which is called email composer task, which launches the email composer for the user, and the user can type the recipient and then the message, and he can send the email. Similarly, there are few launchers in Windows Phone 8 which supports the mapping functionality. The Windows Phone 8 SDK includes 4 different launchers, and these includes Maps task, Maps direction task, Maps downloader task, and Maps updater task. The first one is a map task launcher, which will simply launch the built-in Maps application. You'll also be able to provide the search string to find the location on the map. Then we have the Maps direction launcher. This will again launch the Maps application, but this will also display the direction between the specified source and the destination. Then we have the Maps for the offline use. So for example, you are using a map of, say, for example, the Karnataka map that's in India. It's one of the state in India. You are more frequently using or traveling within Karnataka. So you don't want to access the maps more frequently, but you want to download and keep it within your phone so that you'll be able to use it offline. So the Maps downloader task will enable you to do that from the device. The map, if you want to update the maps which are already downloaded, then you'll be able to use the Maps updater task. So these 4 launchers in Windows Phone 8 SDK provides one of the simplest and easiest way for the developers to integrate the map functionality in their Windows Phone app. So now let's get into the demo and see how these launchers can be used from your app. So I'm going to start the Visual Studio. I have already built 5 different apps for demo here. Let me take the first app that I'm going to show here for a demo. That's the Maps launcher here. So let me set it as a starter project, and then let me run the application on the emulator. So the application is getting launched on the emulator here. And what you see is an application here with 4 different buttons, and each one of them performing an action to call the respective launcher applications. For example, I have a Maps task, right? So when I tap on the button called Maps task, this will simply launch the Maps application. I've given the search term as restaurant. So in this case, what it does is it tries to find the nearby restaurants and plots it on the map. For example, I see 10 different restaurants in and around my current place here. So if I want to find out what exactly these places are, I can just tap on the push pin, which will list out, say, what is the hotel name or the restaurant name, right? So I can go back now. Next comes the Maps direction task. So if I tap on the Maps direction task, I've given the start source place as Domlur and destination place as Kormangla. So what this does is it shows me in the map how exactly I can travel from the destination from the source location to the other location as well. So if I say that, if I tap on the direction list, it shows me the complete direction step by step. If you see the destination, it's somewhere around 27th point, which says I have reached the destination called Kormangla. Let me go back again. And next I have the maps download task. So when I tap on the maps download task, you'll see that I've already downloaded a map called Karnataka or Goa, because this is the place that where I reside, and these are the maps which I use more frequently. Even if there is no internet connection, I wanted to use these maps offline. So that's the reason I've downloaded it. So if you want to download more apps, what you can do is you can click on the tab plus button, which will list out the continents. So you can select one of the continents of the country that which you want to download the map from. For example, I can say Asia, and then I can select India here again as a country now. So once I select the country, I get an option to say whether you want to download all the regions or specify a particular state. So when I select one of the states, it will start the download process and put the maps onto the device. Currently it's an emulator. So let me go back again. So similarly, we have the maps updater as well. So what the maps updater would do is, it will try to find out from the list of already downloaded maps if there are any updates for those maps. If there are updates, then those updates will be shown in this screen or in this app. Then the user can say install this update. So the updates for the map would be installed on your device, right? So how did I create this app with 4 functionalities? Very simple. Let me go to the code here. Let me load the screen, mainpage.xaml. It's taking time, so let me go back to the code view instead of sticking onto the designer. So these are the event handlers for the button click event of the respective buttons. First thing is a maps task. So to call a maps applications launcher or a maps task, simply I instantiate the maps task class and provide what is a search term. In the example, in the demo, what you saw was a restaurant, which the map or the device would try to identify the nearby restaurants and plot it on the map and show it to us. So you can give any search term here, and I can also provide the zoom level as well. So similarly, I have the maps direction task, where I was able to give the starting location and the destination. What you see, the start and end takes the type labeled map location here, which takes parameter of label and the geo coordinates. If you don't specify the geo coordinate, you can make it to null and then specify the label itself as Domlor or any location that you feel you want to find the location for. The same thing even for the destination. Instead of giving the geo coordinates, I specified the area name. So the maps direction task is smart enough to identify this from the nearby location, and it was able to specify or provide me the direction from the source to the destination. Similarly, when I wanted to download the maps, I'll simply go and use or instantiate the map downloader task and simply call the show method. And the maps downloader task and the map updated task doesn't have any properties. All that we do is simply call the show method, and the user is in total control of what maps that you need to download and update to. Let me go back to the slide, and that's the launchers. So Geolocator. In the earlier versions of Windows Phone, like Windows Phone 7.5, we had the Geo Coordinate Watcher class, which was generally used to get the current location. Although it is still supported in Windows Phone 8, the Windows Phone 8 SDK comes with the Geolocator class, which is one of the most preferred way of finding the current location if you're targeting the Windows Phone 8 devices. The Geolocator class can be used by your app to monitor the location of the phone. It contains the events for monitoring hardware state changes, geographical position changes within your app. It includes some of the interesting properties, for example, desired accuracy, which will allow the developers to specify the desired accuracy of the coordinates. If you see this, if you set this property to default, then the operating system will decide the accuracy level. When you set this to high, the operating system will then prefer the accuracy of GPS. As a best practice, generally use the default option, which is a power optimized settings, unless you require the higher level of accuracy. Lower accuracy minimizes the power consumption and will increase battery life as well. Next, we have the desired accuracy in meters, which is another property which lets the operating system choose the mechanism for geolocation. Lower values again will cause the phone to prefer the accuracy of a GPS, and setting the desired accuracy in meters will override the desired accuracy property. Then we have the movement threshold property, which is generally used to indicate how often the position change event should be raised. Set this at least to a value greater than say 20 or 25, or else the position changed event will be raised when the location will change significantly. The geolocator class also exposes a couple of other events like position changed event and status changed event. Position changed event is raised when there is a change in location is detected, and the status changed event is triggered or it is raised when the underlying location service changes state, like receiving data or disabled or enabled, so something like that. Right. So how do we get the current phone location in Windows Phone 8? Right. Simple. Just create an instance of the geolocator class and set properties and call the get geo position async method. This will result in the location coordinates from the geolocator. Generally, with the previous versions of the Windows Phone, for example, the Windows 7.5, when we're using geo coordinate, we generally have to subscribe to an event, even if you want to get the current location only once. But you can use the get geo position async method of the geolocator class. You don't need to subscribe to a position change event at all. Once you call the get geo position async event, you simply get the current location in single reading. Right. It is also recommended that you use the get geo position async method when tracking is not required at all, so that the better battery life and UX is still maintained. Right. So what are capabilities? If you need to use the location functionalities within your application, for example, if you're using a geolocator to find the current location, right? So you need to use or enable the location capability in your Windows Phone project. If these capabilities are not defined in your app, then you will get an unauthorized exception when running the application. Right. So what exactly are capabilities here? Capabilities are something when the user is notified of the functionality, when the user assume that user is trying to install an application in the store, when the application developer has enabled these capabilities. This provides the information for the user to say, hey, the application that you're trying to download uses these capabilities of the phone. Do you really need to use this app? Then the user can decide whether is it fine to download the app and use it. Setting the capabilities is pretty simple. It's just open the wm app manifest.xml file, which will open the designer as shown in the screenshot where you set them. Right. So let's look into the demo of how the geolocator class can be used to get the current location and plot it onto the map using the maps task launcher. And then the maps task launcher is something that we in the previous slides, right? So let me go back to the demo now. Let me open up the Visual Studio here, and I have the Geolocator project here. Let me set it as a startup project. Before starting the project, I need to enable the capabilities, right? To enable the capabilities, expand the properties folder of Geolocator project or your Windows Phone project. You will see the WM app manifest.xml file, right? When you double click on that, it opens up a GUI editor, which provides you the list of things that your app is been using it. For example, it has the application UI tab, which generally has the display name, description of your application, and then it has the capabilities tab, which includes what are the capabilities that your Windows Phone application uses, right? So we are going to use the capabilities tab here. There, let me disable the location and map capabilities to show you what exactly happen when you don't have this been enabled in your application, right? So this is simply an XML file. So you can also open this file in an XML editor, right? So when you say open with, you get an option to say XML text editor. When you select this and click OK, the same file which was earlier opened in the Geo editor is been opened in the XML file. So if someone is very comfortable working with the XML kind of structure, they can always use the XML editor. But if someone wants to get into the GUI, and if they're more comfortable onto the GUI to set the capabilities, they can use the GUI manifest designer here. Right. So I've disabled the map and the location capabilities here. Let me try to run this application now. The application is being currently deployed onto the emulator now. It's trying to run. Okay, so now I've written all the background code behind the button called Geolocator. What it does is, when I tap on the Geolocator button, it uses the Geolocator class to find out the current location and lets me know the coordinates, or plots it on the maps map application. So let me tap on this. So it's taking time. So now you see an error. The error says it's an unauthorized access exception. The reason I'm getting this error is I haven't enabled the capabilities in my application for using the maps or the location. So let me stop this and let me open up this and say location and maps. Let me enable the both. No harm in enabling both now. And let me try to build the project, and let me try to run the application or deploy the application onto the emulator again. It's deploying the application now to the emulator. So it's done. So now let me tap on the Geolocator and see what happens. You saw that the mapping application, the map application is launched, and I was able to pick the current location. But currently it's trying to pick the location on the device, right? So now if I say, let me tap on where is my current location. So I use this. So let me go back to code and let me open up the and let me show you how exactly I'm finding out the current location on the map and using that. So let me double tap on this. If you see, I've written a method called get current coordinate. This is Geolocator. So I instantiate the Geolocator class, and I've specified the desired accuracy to be default. I'm giving the opportunity to the phone to decide whatever is feasible. Let the phone decide and use the accuracy level. And then I call the locator.getPositionAsync. right? This, note that this I have to use an await method, await and asynchronous. Most of the functionality here are asynchronous calls. We need asynchronous here, which makes the responsiveness much better, right? So once I do that, the position, the return value will be the geo position. Then I try to cast it to the geo coordinates and return it to the button click event or the geo coordinates outside. And then I use that geo coordinate to position it to the center of the maps task. So let me go back. So the property center takes the geo coordinate as a property. So hence that's the reason that we had to convert this to a different geo coordinate. Yeah, whatever you see here, it's C in caps lock, and whatever is provided in the Windows Phone 8, which the result is a small one, right? So once that is done, I'll be able to get the current location and which is being launched and plotted onto the maps task. So, so once I did that, you also saw the additional tools which is seen in the screen here, right? So to launch the additional tools, what I did was in the emulator there is this arrow mark. I tapped on that, which displayed the additional tools, and this additional tools is part of the Windows Phone 8 SDK, which provides the developers to simulate various other things, right? For example, every developer who is developing an Windows Phone app, for some reasons might not be having a Windows Phone device. He might be using the Windows Phone emulator to test the app. How do the developer really simulate the real-time scenarios in this case? So in these cases, the developers can use the location application in the additional tools. Right? The location tools provides you various options to say, I can zoom in the maps or zoom out, and I'll be able to plot multiple places, which you'll also see in real time on the emulator, being the location being changed more frequently. For example, I it on different place on the map, right? You see the current location is also been changing as and when I pin the points on the map, right? So as and when I pin the points on the map, you'll also see the latitude and the longitude also being kept track in the same tool. And the current location text box shows you the current latitude and the longitude, which is nothing but the number 3, right? So I will also be able to clear all the points. So which means it's still picking up the last location, but it's cleared all the points that have been plotted. I will also be able to search places within this. For example, I want to search a place called Delhi. I'll be able to search on the text box and click the search button. So this will search and show me the map of New Delhi. But let me come back to Bangalore again. That's easier for me. So let me zoom in. So now we also have other options wherein if I'm using the same latitude and longitude, set of latitude and longitude for testing the driving direction or for some other scenarios, what I can do is I can click on 4 or 5 points, pin them onto the map, and then I'll be able to save them as an XML file, right? What this will do is it will allow the developers to use the same latitude and longitude for testing with the same set of data for various other scenarios as well. So then when I want to load, I can just simply load the same XML file back. So and if after plotting, if I want to fire the change of the location every few seconds, I'll be able to use this option called fire every 1 second or 2 seconds, right? For this, I need to set this value, and then which will automatically fire the locations at at the specified interval of time. So these are some of the functionalities that the additional tool provides you with. especially for the location, getting the location, or if you want to simulate real-time data with your emulator. So let me go back to the slides, and that's what I have for the geolocator now. Coming back to the mapping control, whatever we saw earlier was the inbuilt map application, right? From the application we launch another application which is a built-in map application, and we try to use the data or the limited functionality that has been provided to us. The Windows Phone 8 SDK also provides the new mapping control and namespace which could be utilized by the developer to include maps in their application. We also have the mapping technology which is powered by maps, and the new maps control in the SDK also to leverage more power in your app, especially when you're using the maps or location. Note that the Maps API in Windows Phone 8 is different from Windows Phone 7.5 or 7.1, because in 7.5 it was more of a Bing Maps control, but now it's the mapping control data is more powered by the Nokia Maps. The Bing Maps control is still supported in Windows Phone application, but when you're using the Windows Phone 8, it's more of like uses the Nokia mapping control. If you're still targeting Windows Phone 7.1 app, you will be still using the Bing Maps control. So regarding the managed and native code, if you're developing a native app, for example, say using Direct3D or C++, you can still use this API. That's the power of the new mapping control. In case even if you're using it from a C# or XAML, you'll still be able to use this control. The Windows Phone 8 also provides the feature of a background location tracking, which is something new in Windows Phone 8. The Windows Phone 8 SDK also includes some advanced functionalities like the map services that allows the developers to do lot of things. For example, the route display, which can be used to find the route between multiple places using map services, right? So, and then we have this geocoding and reverse geocoding. From the latitude and longitude, you'll be able to find out the address, and the reverse way of giving an address and finding out the geocoding. These are some things that can be done. Then the map control, you can create the map control either using XAML or in the code behind using C# if you are more of from a managed code perspective. Note that the map control requires an API to function in production. If you are developing and testing within the emulator or within the device, it works perfectly fine. But when you want to publish your app, that time you need to get the API keys and then add it to the project and then submit the ZAP file. The map control also enables the developer to specify various other things like color modes like dark and light. For example, if a user is using phone in a night mode and he wants a better view of the maps, he can enable the light mode and dark mode as per his needs. Right? And we also have something called cartographic mode. The maps are displayed in various modes like aerial mode, hybrid mode, road view, or a terrain view, something like that. Right? So for the maps, again, you need to enable the location and maps capability within your Windows Phone project. That's a app manifest file. So if you don't enable this, you're going to get the same error like the way we saw earlier. It's going to be the unauthorized exception or access denied kind of exception. Right. So now let's get into the demo of the map control and how the map control can be integrated into your application. So let me go to the Visual Studio solution file and let me launch the map application here. So let me set this as, I can always say debug and then start it, but anyways, I'll set it to the start project and let me run this in the emulator. So right, so let me clear the complete set of points and let me zoom in and let me set the current position here. I'll set this right, so that's okay. So now the I've included the maps now. So after this, the the map control, I want to play around with the properties, right? So if I want to play around with the properties, what I have is a slider. I've added a slider here which generally takes care of the zoom level. I'll be able to set the zoom level of the map, and currently I've enabled the minimum value to be 1 and maximum to be 19. So as and when I increase the zoom level, you'll see the map getting closer or being zoomed. Right, so the maximum zoom level is this, that's a 19 here. So let me just slowly decrease it and you will see different views, right? So now next I have the dark and the light mode. So let me go a little back so that you'll be able to see what exactly dark and the light mode means, right? So now let me tap on the dark mode. You'll see that the complete map control, the color mode is being changed to a dark one. I want to change this back to a light. You'll see now in the light mode, right? By default, the map control uses the light mode. So as and when the developer needs to provide the functionality for the user to change the modes, they can use this. From the dark color mode to the light color mode. The other modes are regarding the views, right? For example, I want to change the views here. Various views that I've enabled. This is one of the view. This is a different view of the same map. This is the same map with again a different view and one more different view, right? So there are close to 4 to 5 different modes of view that can be set for the map. So how does the code look like for the map control? Let me go back to the map application. So let it enable. So what you see is a map control being added here. First of all, the map control will be found in the toolbox where you can search for maps and you'll find this. What I did was just dragged and dropped the map control onto the form, which created the corresponding XAML files for me, right? So the XAML entry for the map, to create the map via XAML, it will look something like controls : map. Controls are nothing but the namespace. So let me just zoom in here. Yes, controls are just the namespace here that is being defined. You see XML NS controls, and I've defined from where the namespace needs to be referred. So in my XAML tag, I'll be using this and then specify what is the control name within the toolkit. So now I've provided the name of the maps to the map control, right? And then I've included slider for getting the zoom level here. So for the slider, I have event handler been handled here, which says value changed, and within the value changed, for the map control, I'm setting the zoom level from whatever the value that is been present within the slider. So every time it's been incremented by 1, so that will be the zoom level every time when I increase the zoom level on the slider as well. Similarly, I have 2 buttons here. One is the dark button for the color modes and button for the actual modes for the views, right? So for the dark mode, color modes, I have a button here. So let me go to the tap event or a click event. You'll see that this is a simple code that I'm enabling here. So when the color mode is dark, I toggle it to light. If the color mode is light, I toggle it to dark. So this is an enum. The color mode takes the value of enum. So generally when you go into this, the enum, you'll see that the color mode, there are 2 options. One is One is the light mode and the dark mode, which takes the enum value of 0 and 1, and that's what we are setting it, right? So similarly, for the second button click, I'm handling the cartographic mode. So how does this work? It's again, I'm checking for the current mode and then toggling it. Generally, the simple logic would be to just use this. For example, you want to set the cartographic mode to say hybrid. You simply say the hybrid is the mode for the map control, the cartographic mode for the map control. The various other properties that the cartographic mode supports are road mode, aerial view, we have hybrid view and the terrain view. These are the four different properties that the cartographic mode supports for the map control, right? So that was about the maps now. So now this was interesting, but let's try to add a little more interesting aspect here, where let's try to add a overlay or a pin on top of the maps or the location that we want to pin. I have an application here called Maps Advanced. Let me just set that as a startup project. And this to enable the overlay, the Windows Phone toolkit, which contains a good number of toolkit controls for the Windows Phone developers. It also includes a map extension, which provides you a cool feature wherein you'll be able to use a push pin or a overlay and apply that on every point. For example, like the way we saw in the toolbox or the additional tools, right, where we pin on the maps. So we'll still be able to use get the styling similar to this and then plot it onto the maps as well. So if I were to start this, let me open the main page.xaml for the first step, and let me go to the overlay here. So sorry, that's an overlay project, sorry for that. So to start a project, and let me open the main page.xaml. And when you see this XAML tag here, you will notice that there are two different items being added within the maps control. Within the maps control, we have added toolkit maps extension, and within the extension, I'm including pushpin or the user location marker. So how do I get these extensions? Since I told that this is part of the Windows Phone toolkit, right? We have the option of getting this via the NuGet package manager. So there we have something called manage NuGet packages. So you'll get the list of apps or the packages which are already installed here. I was able to search for the I'll be able to search for the NuGet packages from the online tool here, online tab, and then I'll be able to install it. Since the packages are already installed, you will see that in the installed packages list for this project. The Windows Phone toolkit is already installed. Another easy way for you to install the Windows Phone toolkit is using the package command line editor. For library package manager, there is something called package manager console. When you use this, you'll be able to select for which project you need to add the NuGet package manager, and then you'll be able to say install, and then you specify the package names. For example, if it is WP toolkit, they are their own set of command. We need to run that. This will download the NuGet package manager for the Windows Phone toolkit and install it. You'll also see a config file called packages.config, and inside that you'll see that, yeah, this is where the package has been downloaded and your project uses this package. This gives you the information, or the configuration information, that your application is using this package or a NuGet packages here. So now once that is done, so I have included this both. I have something called pushpin and something called user location marker. Pushpin user location marker will give you something like a box kind of thing with different red colored ones where you'll be able to plot and mark the location on the map. The pushpin on the other side provides you additional functionalities, like you'll be able to format some things and then put a label kind of thing on the pin and then provide, okay, this is the location, like the way we saw in the built-in maps application earlier, right? So if I were this now, so now when the application launches, I try to pick the current location and then pin that onto the map. So let me go back to the main page.xaml, then let me just zoom in. The same method is being used to get the current location, right? Once the current location is received, I use the marker here to mark the place on the a map. So let me try to run this project, the overlay. Let me say this emulator and let me run this. It's trying to run. And I'm already here. So, oh, so it says an error, says null. So let me rebuild. Demos are supposed to fail. Not a problem. Let me rebuild it. Let me clean the solution. Sorry for that. Let me cancel the build and clean the solution and let me rebuild it again. So let me now try to run it on the emulator now. I hope it works now. It's trying to deploy the application. Yeah. So now you see that within our application, we are able to show the map control, and within the map control, I was able to mark the location, the current location, using the user location marker. Similarly, I will also be able to use the pushpin as well. So if I want to get the pushpin, similarly I'll be able to get this with the find name and then set the coordinate and set its visibility to true, or visibility equal to visible, which will show the marker on the map. So that was about this, and now I have a final demo, one more demo to show, which is an advanced maps, right? So the Windows Phone 8 SDK also provides the map services. For example, you wanted to find out the routes within your application. You wanted to find out what are the different routes from a source to a destination. I'll be able to find that with the Windows Phone 8 APIs, right? So how do I do that? So with the maps in this application, let me just set it to start, and then main page.xaml. Let me go to the code view instead of me worrying about anything else. So I have something called route query in Windows Phone 8 SDK. This route query will enable me to get the list of directions from one coordinate to another coordinate, and it can also involve multiple coordinates. So the route query has something called waypoints. Waypoints are nothing but the points in between which or the route from one location to the another location. So this takes an enumerable of geo coordinate here. When you see, it takes something like a list of geo coordinates. I can specify, say, coordinate 1, coordinate 2, coordinate 3, and then, hey, give me the location, the route from this location to another location. Similarly, after I get the coordinate, in this case what I'm doing is, from my current location, I need to go to another location. So I already got the coordinates of the other location as well. So from the current location, I'm going to go to another location, but I need the list of directions within my application, right? So I add that to the list, and that list is being added to the waypoints. So once that is added to the waypoints, then I'll be using the root query dot query async method. So this will start the query to the location or the map services and try to find out the uh, directions from one location to the another location. So once that is done, we're also having this query completed event. So this event will fire when the query is completed and the complete location from the directions from one place to the other place is retrieved. So in this case, if you see the query completed event handler, I'm trying to get the route or the from the result, and then finding out, okay, if there are multiple routes, show me all the possible routes. Let me show just one route currently. Right? Let me take one. And then we try to find out the manures from that route with the instruction text. What the instruction text will tell you is, hey, take right on this road, go straight, take left. Those kind of information or the instructions will be available in this property. So you're trying to get that into string list of string, and we're trying to show that now. So let me just put a breakpoint here, and let me quickly run this application to see what exactly the outcome of this will be. Right, let me try to run. The application is being deployed onto the Windows Phone emulator. So on the application, on navigate to event on this page, since the code, the root query was written, it's able to trigger the query completed event as well. Let me just step through and let me get the list of paths. So now if I go into this string, it shows there are 12 different instructions for me from one coordinate to another coordinate. It says when I'm starting from a current location, I need to head north and then turn right, again turn right, turn right, turn right into the first main road, and it again tells me to say, hey, turn left into the service road. It says turn right into the 100-foot ring. So it tries to let us know each and every direction instruction from one coordinate to another coordinate. So this provides us more flexibility in case if you want to build a more robust or a great app using the map services, right? So the API provides you those kind of functionalities. So let me just stop this. And that was about the mapping control. So let me go back to the slides, and so next comes the background location tracking. In the Windows Phone 7.5, the apps that use the location tracking could have an issue when the events are being lost because of the app being deactivated, or it's in a dormant tombstone state. For example, the position changed event could be discarded, something like that. So but in Windows Phone 8, you don't have to worry about it, since you can specify that an app is a location tracking app where the location tracking still runs in the background, although another app runs in the foreground. Then you'll be able to just raise a toast notification and say this is your location. Right? To set your app as a location tracking app, you need to simply add the background execution element to the default task element in your project's WM app manifest.xml file. Only one location tracking app can be run in the background at any time. The most recently opened location tracking app takes the precedence. If there were any existing location tracking apps running, they'll be made dormant or tombstone in this case. So we have close to another 5 minutes, and other resources that you can use are we generally have this Microsoft Virtual Academy, which includes the Windows Phone 8 tutorials. and which provides you a great resource for anyone who's getting started with the Windows Phone 8 development. And then we have this Windows Phone 8 training kit, which is another great useful resource for the developers, right? And we also have the Windows Phone Dev Center. So yeah, before getting into the Q&A, I also wanted to show you another quick demo of the submission of the app, which includes the map controller mapping functionality, because somewhere I mentioned that you need an API key or a token for your application when you're submitting your app for the production. How do I get that? Well, that's simple. You log into your Windows Phone Dev Center, and when you are submitting your app for the store, you will be filling up the information like app info and things and so on, right? There we have something called optional tab. So in the optional tab, you have an option called map services. So when I click on the map services, right? So let me, okay. So now this app is something called as tech. So now I have an option called get token. When I click on the get token link here, this will give me the necessary API keys that I can use in my application for my map control. Once I get the application ID and the token, I simply have to go to the page where the map control exists. Then I simply have to specify what is the application ID and the token ID for this map that is being used in the application. Once that is done, you just build the zap file again in the release mode, and then you can submit it in the store. So that was about the mapping control and how you can get the map APIs and tokens. So if you have any questions, we can take it up now. So let me just check here.